B, the way we call him, Dr. B, is Bryan Cutshall. We appreciate you being with us this weekend. It's a blessing. We are excited about today and tomorrow. He's a great friend of our office from Romania, loves our people, and I really appreciate his insight, his wisdom, his teaching, and his friendship. So, Bryan, it's all yours. Thank you once again. I really do appreciate it.
Bless you. You know, I appreciate sometimes when people give you your accolades, but I've learned that accolades are just fluff unless you're living up to them. So I would rather know who you are and what you know than what you've done. Sometimes what you've done isn't always what you're doing. So the fact that you have earned a degree or you've written a few books doesn't always mean you're living up to that. So thank you for that. Thank you for calling me friend. That's the highest compliment you can give me. So I appreciate that. And I certainly reciprocate that sentiment as well. And let's get started. Okay, so I want to talk today about doing ministry with excellence. So here's my first question to each of you. My first question is, where are you in your ministry? Are you at good? Are you at better? Or are you at best? Now, I want you to think about that in all the relationships of your life. Think about that. If you're married, think about that as a husband or a wife. How good are you right now? Are you just at good? Are you better than you were? Or are you giving it your very best? So here's the thing you need to know about ministry. Our boss is a king. That's what you need to know. We serve a king. You don't serve me. We don't serve Pastor Campion. We don't serve our leaders. We should serve our leaders. As a matter of fact, if we don't serve our leaders, we don't get blessed. I mean, the Bible says in Galatians 6, let him who is taught share in all good things with him who teaches. God will not be mocked. If a man is sowing, he should be reaping. So the Lord says, if somebody's teaching you something and you're not serving them, you're a thief. You're taking something without giving anything back. And that is not the biblical model. The biblical model, Jesus washed the feet of the disciples. Jesus preferred towels over titles. And sometimes we prefer titles over towels. And we have to understand this. If we have a leader who's pouring into us and we don't give back to that leader, we're actually taking something and not giving back. And that's a thief's mentality. That's not a kingdom mentality. So even though we do serve our leaders and we serve those around us, ultimately we serve a king. And because we serve a king, we have to ask ourselves this pertinent question. Am I giving my king my best? You know, there's a passage in Malachi where the Lord asked them the question. He said, would you serve? He said, you bring me lame animals and put them on my altar and stale bread. So you take the bread with mold on it and you bring it and said, oh, we brought an offering to the Lord. And then the Lord asked them this question, would you serve that to your governor? If your governor showed up at your house, would you serve him this spoiled meat and this moldy bread? The Lord said, then why would you give it to me? Why would you give me something you wouldn't even give your governor? So if someone important came into this room, would your demeanor change? Would your conversation change? Would your attitude change? So keep in mind, in ministry, ultimately you serve a king. So you have to ask yourself, you know, guys, I just want to be honest with you. The Lord has blessed me as he's blessed many of you, but I can't take any of that with me. When I die, it's gone. And my kids will fight over it, just like your kids will. Somebody will fight over it, or the government will try to get it. You know, that's how it all works. I don't want to get depressed here, so let's move on beyond that thought. All right, so I can't take any of it with me. I've never seen a hearse pulling a U-Haul yet. It's just not going to happen. So no matter how much I accumulate, when I breathe my last breath, it's over. The only thing I can take with me is what I gave to the Lord. The only thing that I can take with me is how I served the Lord. That's the only thing that crosses over, and that's the only thing that pays me in eternity. Because you may not think you're getting paid in eternity, but you are. You're laying up treasures on the other side right now. If you give a cup of cold water, you'll not lose your reward for it. So everything we do for the Lord right now determines our status after we get to heaven. I know everyone thinks, oh, we're just all going to be angels and floating around. It's going to be amazing. No, man. There's people that get crowns and people who don't. There are people who get rings and people who don't. There are people in ceremonies and people who are not there. We are rewarded in heaven. Everyone gets to go. There are no cabins in the corner of glory land, regardless of what that Southern Gospel singer was thinking when he wrote that song. There are no cabins in glory land. They're all mansions, but everyone is not the same. You know, no angels wear halos. Not one. I did one of the classes that I taught at high school was an expository study of angels. And I've talked about every single verse in the Bible. No one wears a halo in heaven except a minister. There's only one person that will wear the crown of glory that fades not away, which is where we get the idea of the halo, where God takes his own glory like a part of himself and circles it over your head. And for all of eternity, you walk around with a crown of glory that fades not away. And everyone that walks by you realizes that you are one of the kings and priests in heaven, but not everyone is. You know how you earn all of that? What you're doing for the king now. That's how we earn all of that. So what we do for the king is important. So are we serving at better or good, better, or best? Many years ago, I got addicted, and I hate to admit that, but I did. Now, I know you're looking at me, oh, he got addicted. He's going to tell us something real juicy. Well, it wasn't to all the things that you typically get addicted to. I got addicted to people pleasing. And it almost cost me my mind because I could not make everyone happy. You know, I pastored a mega church, and I wanted to print a business card that said, I'm a mega church pastor. I let people down for a living. Because that's what it felt like. I could never make everyone happy at the same time. If I made this group happy, this group was not happy. I had 5 Messianic Jewish groups in my church, and it was a mess. I know what they call themselves, Messianic, because it was a mess. And I was never Jewish enough for any of them. I mean, I could have worn enough tallits and lit enough Hanukkah candles and, you know, wore enough tzitzit and put enough yummies on my head. There was no way I could blow enough shofars to ever please them. They just were never happy. I was never Jewish enough. I had about 40% of my congregation were African American. Well, look at me. I'm just not black enough. You know, I couldn't dance black enough, hot black enough, sing black enough. I'm just never black enough. And then, you know, so I was never enough. I had 500 Italians, man. I was never Italian. I don't care how much I talk with my hands and how fast I talk. I don't care how dramatic I got. I was never Italian enough. And so I felt like, you know, I'm just letting people down all the time. I was just never enough for anybody. And that's not a good way to live your life. And then I went to a counselor. I'm admitting that. I went to a counselor because I was at a real crisis, and I said, I need somebody. So I went to a Presbyterian counselor because I thought they didn't know me. I was a Pentecostal. It was like, I want to go to somebody. And I was afraid I might cuss and they wouldn't care. You know, so that was a joke. You guys didn't get that joke. I really don't cuss, all right? But anyway, I chose this Presbyterian counselor, and I was sitting there, and about the second session, this counselor said to me, oh, I know your problem. You're addicted to people pleasing. I said, yeah, I could have told you that. Well, who do you serve? Do you serve the people? Well, yeah. She said, no, you don't. You don't serve the people. You serve God. You're not responsible for the people. You're responsible to the people. But you're not responsible for the people. And that just set me free. And I adopted this as my motto for ministry. Whatever you do it with all of your heart, do it heartily as to the Lord and not to men, knowing that from the Lord you will receive the reward of the inheritance when you serve the Lord Jesus Christ. And when I realized, I've read that many times, and when I applied that to my life as my motto, I have one goal in ministry: to please the Lord. And if I do that, I will make somebody happy, but I realize I will never be liked by everyone. I'm not everybody's flavor. That's okay.
But as long as I get the applause of heaven, as long as the king winks occasionally, as long as when Stephen was being stoned, Jesus stood up at the right hand of the Father. If I can get a standing ovation of one from heaven, if I can get an applause of a king from heaven, that is worth it all. So I have to ask myself, am I serving in ministry well enough to receive a wink from the king? See, that's what I think favor is. Have you ever seen people walking in favor? I think favor, because a day is 1,000 years and 1,000 years is as a day. So I think if the king in heaven looks at you and goes, attaboy, that's good. I think that probably took him 1 second in heaven, but it's probably about 10 years on the earth that's played out. And the angels just gather around and say, man, the king liked this. I don't know. It's just a guess, but it sounds good to me. All right. So here's the root word of excellence. The root word of excellence is the word excel. So I want to ask you another question, and I want you to answer this question in your head. You don't have to answer it to everyone else. What do you excel at? Because every one of you do. Are you a good singer? Are you a good musician? Are you a good organizer? Are you a good people person? Are you good on computers? Are you good behind the camera? What do you excel at? Because you will never be excellent until you figure that out. Because you cannot be good at everything, but you have to be good at something. And whatever you excel at, whatever string, you know, and I love your orchestra at your church. As a matter of fact, I talk about it in a lot of places because I don't see a lot of those in churches. And I love your orchestra and I love your choir. I love it when I've got the choir on one side and the orchestra on the other side. And I'm, hallelujah. You know, I love that. But you know what makes that work? Every person doing their one thing. Every person doing their harmony, singing their one string, playing their one instrument. That's what brings that harmony together. That's what brings that symphony together. Because not one of those persons can become a symphony. But when they do what they do well, they can become one. So what you excel at, that's very important. You are good at something and you need to decide what that is and give that to the king, whatever that is. Maybe you're good at dramas. Maybe you're good at witnessing. You know, everybody's not good at witnessing. How many of you figured that out? You don't have to raise your hand, but if you're good at witnessing, just kind of nod at it. All three of you are here this morning. It's so good to see you this morning. Oh, praise the Lord. So that's the thing about life is we're not all good at everything. But whatever you're good at, you need to give that to the king and excel in that area if you're going to please the Lord. All right, so there's a passage in the Bible that says, in Psalm 8 and 9, "O Lord, our Lord, how excellent is your name in all the earth." So God's name is excellent. So here's the thing you need to understand, that we serve a king, but we don't just serve any king, we serve an excellent king. And God is so excellent that his attributes are seen in all that he did. So look at this. There's an estimated 1 quadrillion cubic feet of snow that falls every year. 1 quadrillion cubic feet of snow that falls every single year since the beginning of time. And every single snowflake is unique. No two are alike. Can you do that? No. Can anyone do that? Can just haphazard nature do that? No, there's something behind all of it. Only an excellent king can do that. That's how excellent God is. Now, of all the species of plant life and all the species of insects and animals on the earth, let me show you how even that breaks down. Maybe you've seen a ladybug before, but which one? Because there's 5,000 species of just the ladybug. Think about spiders and caterpillars and butterflies and all that. Thousands of species. How about grass? Well, which grass are you talking about? Because there's thousands of species of that. We serve an excellent God. As a matter of fact, let me show you how excellent God is. When God created you, this is how many atoms he put in your body. I don't know what that number. Some math nerd will come later. I'm pretty sure of that. But I don't know what that number is. That's how many atoms are in the human body. Someone in the room, I know there's a lot of smart people here, so someone in the room tell me how many atoms exploded in the atomic bomb. I heard the answer. Somebody, you said the right answer. How many? No? One. This is one atom exploding. The atomic bomb, one atom exploding. This is how many you have in your body. Now, fist bump your neighbor and say, "You're the bomb." If you say, "Why your wife say, you're harder than I thought you were." So, all right, you're the bomb because you have all of these atoms in your body. That's an excellent God. That is an excellent God, and God does not operate in all of this excellence and expect us to give him our mediocrity. We serve a king. Turn to somebody and say, you serve a king. All right. So because we serve a king, Christian marriages should excel more than others because we serve a king. Because we serve a king, Christian employees should excel among people who have different standards of living. Because we serve a king, Christian businesses should excel. They should be the most honest, the most dependable, and have the most integrity because we serve a king. So we do ministry with excellence because we believe in an excellent God. So how do I get there? Now, the Bible says that Daniel became distinguished above all the other presidents and satraps, which is like a governor, because an excellent spirit was in him. I don't have time to get into this, but do you know how old Daniel was when in Daniel chapter 1? Does anybody know how old Daniel was in Daniel chapter 1 when all this first started happening to him? 16. You know how old Daniel is in Daniel chapter 2? 18. You know how old Daniel is in Daniel chapter 3? 21. All these great stories of Daniel was the story of a teenager who excelled. He became the governor at 21 because an excellent spirit was in him. He was interpreting dreams as an 18-year-old when all the sages of Babylon could not do it. Chaldean sages could not do it. And an 18-year-old Jewish boy who went on a fast and interpreted the dream. Now, you don't see the old Daniel until later on. Daniel doesn't become a prophet until he's 60. Daniel becomes a governor again at 56, and Daniel doesn't get thrown in the lion's den until he's 82. Okay, so this old Daniel the lion's den story later on in life. Why did he wait till then? My goodness. 82-year-old guy, you think he'd served well enough, right? That's when they threw him in the lion's den. And every time a king would change in that region, Daniel would lose his job. And God would bring him back because the king needed him because of one thing. He had an excellent spirit in him. Daniel got fired more than anybody in the Bible, but he also got rehired by the same government more than anybody else in the Bible because he had something that everyone needed. He had an excellent spirit in him. And we live in a society today where mediocrity is the norm. Fortunately, people don't take pride in their work. They don't show up on time. They don't have integrity or character in many of the things. I'm not talking about you. I'm just talking about people over in Kentucky, right? So it doesn't even apply to you. So, but unfortunately, the world that we live in, that's where people, they don't show up. It's a hit and miss thing. You don't know because they don't take any pride. They don't take any excellence. They don't have the same life, the same character that many generations before have had. But if you have an excellent spirit, you will do the right thing regardless of who's looking. Okay, so I'm going to tell you 7 ways to obtain excellence. So how do I have excellence? And if you're writing something down, these are definitely worth writing down. The first thing is that you have to value excellence. If you don't value something, you're not going to do it. You know, if you don't value a person, you're not going to treat them well. If you don't value a car, you're not going to clean that car and take care of it. You value things most of the time that you earn. Things that are given to you aren't always valued. Things that are earned are always valued. And so you have to value something in order for it to be excellent. So what does that look like? There's two ways to create value. The first one is language, and the other is value, which means you put work on it. So if a church believes that the most important thing the church does is win souls, there will be an altar call for sinners every week. If that's what they believe. If they believe the most important thing is to win souls, if they believe the most important thing is to keep saints happy, then they will sing everyone's favorite song, pat everyone on the back, tell them how good they are every week. Because whatever you value is what you celebrate. So whatever you value is what you move toward. And the second thing is you create excellence in language. So every culture has ways of saying things. You know, I told you about all the Italians in my church. They talk with their hands, and they're always very dramatic in the way they talk. And I don't know if you've ever been to an Italian funeral before, but the first thing you hear is someone screaming. So yeah, when you walk in the back door, whoever the mother, whoever the children are, the first thing, this is how the funeral begins. Everyone's set up, everyone's waiting. The back door opens up and somebody goes, oh, as loud as they can. And that means, okay, it's time to start. Because they're showing their love. And it comes from a deep place of heart, but it's also traditional. It's also cultural. And it shows that that's how much they love them. And I got used to that. The first time it happened, it about scared me to death. It's like, what is going on? And then I realized that every time I did an Italian funeral, that was going to happen. And it did. I didn't have one Italian funeral where that did not happen. And all the Hispanic funerals I did, you have to faint. Somebody has to faint, or you just didn't love them. That's the truth. I mean, if you're Puerto Rican and you don't faint, you really didn't love them. So you gotta prove it somehow. So you gotta faint. I did one Puerto Rican funeral one time, and they were all New Yorkers, and I think 50 of them fainted. It looked like a bowling alley, man. I mean, it looked like they all fainted at the same time, and I didn't know what to do. It's like I speak conversational Spanish, and the funeral director said, "What's going on? What's going on?" I said, "I have no idea." He said, "I thought you can understand them." I said, "I can't understand them when they're doing this. We're talking so fast, and I have no idea what they were saying." And I was just, in one of those positions, because every culture does something different. Romanians do things a certain way. You have certain phrases that you say that no one else says. Country people. Oh my goodness. Some of the things my grandmother used to say didn't even make sense, but she said them anyway, and we all understood what she was talking about. Like she would say things like, I don't even want to tell you. You wouldn't even understand it because I didn't understand it. Like every tub sits on its own bottom. What does that mean? I have no idea. Of course, every tub sits on its own bottom. Who has a tub? She had a tub, and that meant something to her. But she would just say, if she thought a child was pretty, this is how she would say it. Every crow thinks hers is the blackest. What? My great grandmother would say, every old crow thinks hers is the blackest, means that because the crow is black, the blacker the crow, the more it belongs to her, meaning that you think your children are more beautiful than other people. Why not just say that? Because she didn't say it that way. Every old crow thinks hers is the blackest. That's how she said it. I never got all that. But it was cultural. So here's the thing about excellence. Excellence also has language. If the things that you say are negative, you don't value excellence. Things you say are always looking for how things are going to go wrong, you don't value excellence. Excellence has a language. So you say things a different way. Can I give you one of the greatest secrets I've ever learned in life? If you can change your language, you can change your whole life. Did you know that? If you can change your language, you can change your whole life. You can change all of your relationships. You can change your business. You know how businesses are built? Vision casting. What is that? Language. You know how churches are built? Vision casting. Sermons. What is that? Language. You know how marriages are built? Language. You know how children are built? Language. You know how children are destroyed? Language. You know how marriages are destroyed? Language. Whatever you say has the power of life and death in it. So if you value excellence, then you are saying things that are constantly moving you into the arena of excellence. So that's important. So you have to value it. Here's the second thing that creates excellence is that people who have a spirit of excellence take responsibility. All right. So There's this phrase, a catchphrase that people use nowadays called being proactive. You know what proactive means? This is all it means. There is a 3-second pause between stimuli and response. If somebody tells you something and you answer immediately, that's called reactive. If you take 3 seconds and pause and formulate your answer, that's called proactive. That's all it means. It means that you thought about what you said. That's all proactive really means. I know people nowadays we use it to get involved, but it's making a decision as opposed to giving a reaction. So people of excellence value response and their responsibility. You know what responsibility means? Response-able. I am able to respond. Mature people are able to respond. Immature people are not able to respond. So all you get is a reaction. They don't stop and think about the answer before they give it to you. So they end up being less responsible. Now, which one are you going to hire? Which one are you going to pay more? You get 2 people doing the same job. One is irresponsible, one is responsible. Which one are you more inclined to pay more? We all know the answer, right? Responsible person. That's the one you want on your payroll. The other one doesn't last long. They never last. That's why they have to get so many jobs, because irresponsible people are not the kind of people you want around you. You want people who are able to respond. So excellence has an element of responsibility. All right, so here's the next thing. People of excellence work from passion. They work from a place of passion, something that they love. John Maxwell has a great quote on this. People that strive for excellence are people that are committed to a cause. And that cause so grips them that they are determined to reach their potential. They desire more than anything else to be all they can possibly be. That's passion. Let me give you another definition for passion. Passion is something that you love so much that if you could, you would do it for free. You love it so much that if you had all the money, people ask me all the time, you know, if you suddenly became a multimillionaire, which I'm not, but if you suddenly became a multimillionaire, what would you do differently? Would you quit ministry? I said, are you kidding me? No, I would just do it for free. I run 4 ministries right now. I wouldn't change any of it. I love them all so much. If I was a billionaire, I would just give more money to ministry. I wouldn't stop doing anything I'm doing because I'm passionate about it. So I don't do ministry because I have to. I do ministry because I get to. It's not something that I feel burdened to do. It's something that I serve a king, and I proudly serve the kingdom because I serve a king. And so keep in mind that people of excellence are people that are passionate about what they do. Here's the next one. People of excellence pay attention to details. Now, this is, I don't know if any of you like Joyce Meyer, or if you don't like Joyce Meyer, you know, she's a friend of mine, so I'll just give a quote from Joyce. Joyce Meyer says that excellence begins in the parking lot of the grocery store when you have to make the decision, am I going to put the cart back or not? She said people of excellence always put the cart back. People that don't. And she says, if you'll get sloppy there, you'll get sloppy everywhere. That one kind of hits you between the eyes. And it's like, wow, if you're so busy and so inconsiderate that you would just leave a cart for somebody else to pick up, or somebody hit with their car, or if you're one of those that just push it and let it go where it may, and then according to Joyce Meyer, you don't have an attention to detail. And that's how it slips away. Now, that may sound very innocent, you know, golf, grocery carts. We probably all done. I've done it before. I don't do it anymore. Ever since I heard her say that, I get convicted every since. It's like, you know what I do now? I search for the closest parking space near the return, because I will have to walk a country mile to turn that thing back in, because I feel like I'm not excellent now if I don't do it. Joyce, you ruined me. But she says, and I believe this, that excellent people pay attention to details. And that's so true. Guys, think about all the people that, can I tell you the only way anyone in this room can be irresponsible is if you're adding more responsibility to somebody else. That's the only way you can be irresponsible. Somebody's got to catch you. Irresponsible people have to be surrounded by people who have to be more responsible so they can be irresponsible. Nothing's free. It always falls on someone's shoulders. So if a person chooses to be irresponsible, a person chooses not to pay attention to details, that means someone else has to. Someone's always reminding them. Someone's always picking up after them. Someone else is always doing more than they should have to do, so you can do less than you should be doing. And so excellent people are people that are committed to details. All right. People of excellence also go the extra mile. All right. The extra mile. What does that mean? Now in the Bible, a Roman soldier by law could ask any Roman citizen to carry their armor for 1 mile. So this is how it worked. A Roman soldier wanted to be fresh for battle. They didn't want to be tired from carrying all their armor, their sword. So they could ask any Roman citizen, I want you to carry my armor for 1 mile. And by law, you had no choice. You had to do it. So you would pick up their armor and follow them for 1 mile to obey the law. Jesus comes along and says, if someone asks you to go with them 1 mile, go 2. Let's be different. Let's show them that we're extra mile people. So if we want to build a kingdom, if the Roman soldier asks you to go 1 mile out of the love of God, go 2 miles, be an extra mile person. And that's where that teaching comes from. He said, if they ask you for your coat, give them your cloak also. If they say, man, I'm cold, here's my coat. Well, would you like my cloak? You sacrifice, you take your cloak off and give it to them. And Jesus said, in doing that, they will see that we're different from everybody else because we are extra mile people. And that's what the kingdom looks like. That's what excellent looks like. They're extra mile people. All right. So I want you to ask yourself another question. Don't answer it out loud. Don't even shake your head. Don't even blink. Just ask yourself this question. Am I an extra mile person? Am I one of those people that I give you more than you asked for? You asked for this, did I just do it and whine and complain? Or did I actually give you more because I'm committed to excellence? It's in my DNA. It's what I'm striving for. And did I give you more than you asked me to give? All right. So that's your question for you. Extra mile people always get promoted. I told you the story of Daniel the prophet. I'll tell you another story of another Daniel. Reinhard Bonnke has one of the greatest evangelism ministries in the world. He worked primarily in African countries, and he was seeing literally millions of people come to the Lord. In some of these countries, he's had altar calls with 1 million people getting saved. It was phenomenal. And through the years, he wanted to find his successor. And he just could not find him. He knew he was getting older. He knew the travel was getting harder, and he could not find the right successor. And then one day the Lord said, how about the guy who loads the boxes on your plane? Daniel Kalinda was a minister who left his ministry to serve Reinhard Bonnke. And the only job available was in the storeroom. So here he was, this great speaker, had been a pastor, but he wanted to be a part of Reinhard Bonnke's ministry so much, he left all of that. And he was loading boxes into the plane. And when Reinhard Bonnke was searching all over the world, trying to find his successor, he ends up finding the guy who's loading the boxes in his plane who becomes his successor. Reinhard Bonnke's in heaven today, and the one who's over that great ministry is Daniel Kalinda, because an excellent spirit was in him. Daniel Kalinda was an extra mile guy. And because of that, now he's a world-renowned speaker from the stockroom, now not only to the pulpit, but the chairman of the board, because of one thing, an excellent spirit was found in him. All right, so number 6, we're almost there. Number 6 is that excellent people prepare and plan. That's very important. They prepare and plan. Here's the thing you learn in life, if you haven't learned this already. People forget how fast you did a job, but they always remember how well you did it. Ever had someone come to paint your house
and they were fast but not good, that's not the guy you want to hire the next time. You actually call that person back. And how about the guy who was slow, worth waiting on at the end? They always frustrate me, but in the end, I'm so glad that I chose the person who went the extra mile, the person who chose excellence over just getting things done quickly. So sometimes in life, we have to ask ourselves, people are going to forget how fast you did something, but they're not going to forget how well you did it. So that's very important. They plan and they execute their plan as well. Everybody wants to come into their destiny. So what is that? What does destiny really look like? Well, destiny is this collision course. All right. So you have preparation, opportunity. And when they collide, we call that destiny. That means the door is open and you're ready to walk through it. We call that destiny. So what happens if the door opens and I'm unprepared? There's no destiny. So people who walk in excellence prepare for opportunities that haven't come yet. You make sure that you're ready to walk through those doors when they happen, because you never know when those opportunities will happen. There's a lot of people in this room and in other places who have missed great opportunities because you just weren't ready for them when they came. And that's what destiny looks like. So it's very important to plan and prepare. And then finally, excellent people never stop improving. They never stop improving. John Maxwell, I used to work with him for a while, about 2 years, and John Maxwell used to say, I want to die with a book in my hand. He'd say that every time he taught, I want to die with a book in my hand. And what he meant by that is I want to be learning on the day I die. So extra mile people and excellent people never stop improving themselves. So what is one thing, if I challenge you today and I ask you, what is one thing you can change to be a better leader? One thing. You might think there's 10 on your list. What is one thing you can do? I challenge every married person in this room. What is one thing, just one thing that you could do that would make your marriage better? I can tell you the one thing most marriages need is time. That's the one thing. Love is not spelled L-O-V-E, by the way. Love is spelled T-I-M-E. You can be a great minister, but if you're not home enough, you're not a great husband. And God wants you to be a good husband and a good father before he wants you to be a good minister. I know that ministers think that it's the opposite, but that's not the biblical plan. God made the family first, and God established everything from a family. God established Israel from the loins of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. God, even if you look at the 12 disciples, most all of them are family. Even the forerunner of Jesus is his first cousin. So think about it. If you have a great ministry and a bad family, you're doing it wrong. You're doing it backwards. God wants you to have a great family before he wants you to have a great ministry. So what is one thing you can do to make that better? What is one date night? More vacation time. What is one thing that you can do to make that better? So I want every young person still living at home. All right, think about this. What is one thing I can do that would help my house run better, that help my parents? What is one thing? Just take out the garbage, cut the grass. I don't know. You think about it. All right, so they never stop improving. So here are the rewards of excellence, and I'll hit these real fast. When you are an excellent person, it propels every area of your life. So you might be striving to be excellent minister, but you'll be excellent in everything. Everything around you will get better when you strive for excellence. There's a second thing, is that it attracts positive attention. When you're an excellent person, someone is always going to be noticing you. Someone is always, you're going to have more people ask you to work for them. Some of you know what I'm talking about. Some of you, because you do your job well, you've got more job opportunities. You've had to turn down a lot of opportunities.